The wine glass catches the golden light as Marco raises it toward the setting sun, his weathered hands telling stories of countless hours in professional kitchens. You're already seated across from him at this intimate table on the vineyard terrace, the conversation flowing as naturally as the Chianti he's just poured. "You know," he says, leaning back in his chair with the easy confidence of someone who's built something remarkable from nothing. 10 years ago, I was making $12 an hour on the line at Romano's downtown, burning my hands every night, coming home reeking of fryer oil, wondering if I'd ever amount to anything more than just another cook. The evening air carries the scent of rosemary and lavender from the restaurant's herb garden below. Somewhere in the distance, you can hear the gentle murmur of satisfied diners enjoying their meals on the main terrace. This is Marco's flagship restaurant, the crown jewel of what has become a $45 million empire spanning 4 states. Maybe you know that feeling he's describing. The bone-deep exhaustion of working in someone else's dream while your own vision stays locked away, too fragile to share, too precious to risk. The way Sunday night arrives like a weight on your chest, knowing Monday means another week of trading your time for just enough money to survive. Marco had felt it too. Every morning for 8 years, he'd walked into that industrial kitchen, endured the screaming head chef, the impossible orders, the burns and cuts that came with working at breakneck speed for poverty wages. While his real dreams, the restaurant that honored his nana's recipes, the kitchen where creativity could flourish, the business that could change his family's future, remained just that. Dreams. Tonight, you'll discover how Marco's moment of truth can unlock your own courage to pursue what matters most. How a line cook making minimum wage transformed his heritage, his passion, and his relentless work ethic into a culinary empire that employs over 300 people and serves farm-fresh Italian cuisine to thousands of grateful customers every week. Before you drift off, hit like if stories about transformation speak to you, and subscribe to join others on this journey toward abundance. Drop a comment with where you're listening from and how many nights you've been manifesting with us. This community's commitment to growth inspires me every single day. Now settle in, let the vineyard air fill your lungs, and prepare to witness a transformation that will plant seeds of possibility in your own sleeping mind. But tonight is different. Tonight, as the last golden rays paint the vine-covered hills in warm amber light, Marco is sharing the story of how everything changed. How a single moment of clarity in that burning kitchen led to the empire you're sitting in right now. How he discovered that the real risk wasn't leaving his job. It was staying and letting his dreams die, one 12-hour shift at a time. You'll experience those final moments in that toxic kitchen, feeling the heat and pressure as if you were standing right beside him. The phone call that changed everything. The mentor who appeared when he needed guidance most. The terrifying first month when his savings dwindled and doubt crept in like smoke from an overheated pan. But you'll also witness something extraordinary. The gradual awakening of a man who stopped asking for permission to live his vision, who discovered that the universe rewards authentic action, who learned that success isn't about perfection. It's about persistence, passion, and the courage to honor your deepest calling. Tonight, as Marco's story unfolds, your subconscious mind will begin to recognize that the same entrepreneurial fire lives within you. His journey becomes your permission to stop settling and start building the life you actually want. Whether your dreams involve restaurants, technology, art, or any other passion, the principles remain the same: vision, persistence, and unwavering belief in your own potential. So breathe deeply. Let your body sink into this comfortable terrace chair and prepare to witness a transformation that will inspire your own path to abundance. The evening air grows cooler now, perfect for deep rest, perfect for allowing new possibilities to take root in the fertile soil of your dreaming mind. It was a Tuesday night in March. Marco begins, swirling the wine in his glass as the memory comes flooding back. Dinner rush was in full swing at Romano's, and I was working the pasta station like I had for 3 years. Boiling water, flying pans, orders coming in faster than we could plate them. You can feel yourself transported back to that industrial kitchen, the fluorescent lights harsh overhead, the tile floors slick with grease and condensation. Steam rises from massive pots of boiling water, and the constant clatter of plates and utensils creates a symphony of controlled chaos. Marco was 26 then, lean and quick-moving, his dark hair always damp with sweat by the second hour of his shift. The head chef, this guy Tony, he ran that kitchen like a military operation, Marco continues, his voice taking on a slightly harder edge as he remembers. Everything was about speed, efficiency, getting the food out as fast as possible. No creativity, no innovation, just the same menu we'd been serving for 15 years. In your mind's eye, you can see young Marco at his station, moving with practiced precision. Pasta into the water, sauce in the pan, a sprinkle of cheese, onto the plate, pass it to the window. Again and again, hundreds of times each night. His hands were constantly burned from the hot pans, his back aching from leaning over the low prep tables, his clothes soaked through with sweat and steam. The vineyard breeze stirs gently around you now, carrying the sweet scent of ripening grapes and the earthy smell of rich soil. Such a contrast to that harsh kitchen environment Marco is describing. You feel yourself sinking deeper into your chair, your breathing naturally slowing as his story continues. I was making $12.50 an hour, he says, shaking his head. $12.50 to work 60-hour weeks in conditions that would make a reasonable person quit after one shift. But I needed the job. I had student loans from culinary school, rent on a studio apartment that was barely bigger than the walk-in cooler at Romano's. You can feel the weight of that financial pressure, the way it sits on your shoulders like a heavy coat. The calculations running through his mind every night: rent, utilities, groceries, loan payments, never quite adding up to enough. The way poverty makes every decision feel loaded with consequence, every small pleasure a luxury you can't afford. But the worst part wasn't the money, Marco continues, his voice growing softer. The worst part was watching my dreams get smaller every day. I'd gone to culinary school with all these ideas about what food could be, about how cooking could bring people together, how it could tell stories, honor traditions, create joy. The golden light is fading now, replaced by the soft glow of string lights that have begun to twinkle throughout the vineyard. The restaurant below is alive with the gentle sound of conversation and laughter, the clink of wine glasses, the satisfied murmur of people enjoying exceptional food. This is what Marco built from those humble beginnings. Instead, I was essentially a food assembly line worker, he says. Take frozen ravioli from the freezer, dump it in boiling water, ladle on sauce from a giant vat that came from a food service company. Nothing fresh, nothing made from scratch, nothing that honored the Italian traditions my nonna had taught me. As he speaks, you can almost smell the difference. The sterile, commercial smell of that old kitchen versus the rich aromas drifting up from his current restaurant. Fresh basil, garlic sautéing in good olive oil, bread baking in wood-fired ovens. The contrast is striking, like comparing a fluorescent bulb to candlelight. My nonna, she died when I was in culinary school. Marco's voice carries a note of tenderness now. Maria Benedetto. She came over from Sicily in 1952 with nothing but a wooden spoon and a notebook full of recipes that had been in our family for generations. You can see her in your mind's eye as Marco describes her. A small, sturdy woman with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun, flour permanently under her fingernails, always moving around her tiny kitchen with the grace of someone who had been cooking for 70 years. Her hands were like magic, turning simple ingredients into meals that could make grown men weep with nostalgia. She never owned a restaurant, Marco continues. Never even thought about it, probably. But she fed our entire neighborhood. Anyone who was hungry, anyone who was lonely, anyone who needed comfort, they ended up at Nonna's table. The evening air grows cooler, and you pull your light sweater closer around your shoulders. The vineyard is settling into twilight now, the rows of grapevines stretching away into purple shadows. Somewhere in the distance, you can hear the gentle sound of water trickling through irrigation channels. She taught me that food is love made visible, Marco says, his fingers absently tracing the rim of his wine glass. That every dish should tell a story, should carry the spirit of the person who made it. That cooking isn't just about feeding bodies, it's about nourishing souls. You feel a deep sense of peace settling over you as he speaks. This is the kind of wisdom that comes from generations of experience, the kind of truth that resonates in your bones. Your breathing has become slow and steady, matching the gentle rhythm of his voice. But at Romano's, there was no soul in the food, Marco continues. Just profit margins and portion control and getting people in and out as fast as possible. I was dying a little bit every shift, watching everything my nonna had taught me get buried under this industrial approach to cooking. The memory clearly still pains him, even now surrounded by the success he's built. You can see how that daily compromise between his values and his survival needs wore on him, like water slowly carving channels through stone. The breaking point came on that Tuesday night, he says, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. We were in the middle of the dinner rush, completely slammed, and this order came in for table 12. Nothing special, just the pasta special with a side of vegetables. You can feel the tension building in the story, the way certain moments crystallize in memory with perfect clarity. The kitchen around young Marco was chaos, servers rushing in and out, other line cooks shouting across their stations, the constant sizzle and bubble of food cooking at high heat. I plated the pasta, reached for the vegetables, and realized they'd been sitting under the heat lamp for at least 2 hours. Marco continues. Completely overcooked, mushy, no color left in them at all. They looked like something you'd serve in a hospital cafeteria. In your mind, you can see those sad vegetables, once vibrant green broccoli, now gray and lifeless, carrots that had lost all their natural sweetness, everything drained of nutrition and appeal by too much time under artificial heat. So I grabbed a fresh pan, started sautéing new vegetables, Marco says. Just took me 3 minutes to make them right. Bright, crisp, actually appetizing. But Tony saw me doing it and absolutely lost his mind. The tension in the memory is palpable. You can almost hear the head chef's voice cutting through the kitchen noise. Feel the way every other cook went silent when they realized a confrontation was building. He started screaming at me in front of the whole kitchen. Marco's voice carries the pain of that humiliation even now. Told me I was wasting time, wasting product, that my job was to follow procedures, not to think. Said if I wanted to be creative, I should go work at some fancy place and see how long I lasted. The cruelty of that moment hangs in the air between you. You can feel how it must have landed on Marco's spirit, not just the professional criticism, but the deeper wound of having his values and instincts dismissed so completely. But then he said something that changed everything. Marco continues, his voice growing stronger now. He said, "This isn't about making good food, kid. This is about making money. The customers don't know the difference anyway." The vineyard air seems to grow even more still around you, as if the universe itself is holding its breath for this crucial moment in the story. This was the crack in Marco's world, the moment when the contradiction between his dreams and his reality became impossible to ignore. "That's when I knew I had to get out," Marco says simply. "Not eventually, not when I'd saved enough money, not when the timing was perfect. Right then. Because if I stayed one more day in a place that treated food with such disrespect, I was going to lose something essential about myself." You feel a flutter of recognition in your chest, that moment when clarity cuts through all the confusion and excuses, when you realize that the thing you thought was providing security is actually the thing that's slowly destroying your spirit. "I finished my shift that night," Marco continues, "but I knew it was my last one. I went home to my tiny apartment, sat at my kitchen table with my Nana's recipe notebook, and started planning my escape. The stars are beginning to appear now in the darkening sky above the vineyard. The restaurant's string lights cast a warm glow over your table, creating an intimate bubble of light in the gathering darkness. You feel completely relaxed, completely present in this moment and this story. I had $800 in my checking account," Marco says with a rueful smile. $800 and a notebook full of recipes that most people had never tasted. But I also had something else. I had the absolute certainty that I'd rather fail pursuing my dreams than succeed at something that felt like dying every day. That certainty resonates through your entire being as you sit here in the success he built from that moment of clarity. Sometimes the most important decisions aren't the most logical ones. Sometimes you have to trust something deeper than financial calculations, something that knows the true cost of compromising your authentic vision. "The next morning, I called in and quit," Marco says. "Didn't give 2 weeks' notice, didn't try to explain myself to Tony. Just said I wouldn't be coming in anymore, hung up the phone, and started building the business you're sitting in right now." The courage of that moment takes your breath away. To walk away from steady income with no backup plan, no safety net, nothing but faith in his own abilities and the value of his vision. You feel that courage settling into your own bones, planting seeds of possibility for your own bold moves. That weekend, I bought a folding table and set up in the courtyard of my apartment building, Marco continues. Made fresh pasta by hand in my tiny kitchen, using my Nana's sauce recipe that I'd watched her make 1,000 times. Charged $5 a plate and sold 43 plates to my neighbors. You can picture that first pop-up dinner so clearly. The folding card table covered with a red tablecloth, mismatched plates and silverware, the incredible aromas drawing people out of their apartments to see what was happening. The way Marco's hands moved with newfound purpose as he served food that carried his family's history in every bite. $215, he says, the wonder still evident in his voice. In 4 hours, making food I was proud of, I earned almost as much as I made in 2 days at Romano's. But more than that, I saw the way people's faces lit up when they tasted it. The way they asked questions about the recipes, about my family, about where I'd learned to cook like that. That first taste of authentic success must have been intoxicating. Not just the money, but the recognition that his vision had value, that people were hungry for the kind of food he wanted to create. The validation that his Nana's wisdom could translate into a viable business. The evening has settled into full darkness now, and you feel wonderfully drowsy and peaceful. Marco's voice has taken on a hypnotic quality, the steady rhythm of his story blending with the gentle sounds of the vineyard at night. Your breathing has deepened, your muscles completely relaxed as you absorb every word. That night, I knew I was on the right path. Marco says softly. It wasn't going to be easy, but it was going to be real. It was going to honor everything my Nana had taught me about food, about family, about treating people with respect and care. You feel that certainty flowing through your own consciousness now, the recognition that authentic success requires authentic action, that building something meaningful means staying true to your values even when, especially when, the easier path calls to you. The next week, I set up again. Marco continues. This time I made 50 plates, and they sold out in 3 hours. Word was starting to spread through the neighborhood about the guy making real Italian food in the courtyard. People were telling their friends, bringing their families. The momentum building in his story mirrors the momentum you can feel building in your own life. The way small, consistent actions aligned with your true purpose can create exponential growth. How authenticity attracts exactly the people who need what you have to offer. By the end of the month, I was doing 3 nights a week and had a waiting list, Marco says. Still cooking in my apartment kitchen, still serving on folding tables, but making more money than I'd ever made at Romano's, and loving every minute of it. You drift deeper into relaxation as his voice continues, feeling the success of those early days washing over you like warm water. The satisfaction of work that feeds your soul while feeding your bank account. The joy of creating value that people genuinely appreciate and are willing to pay for. That's when I knew I was ready for the next step, Marco says. Ready to find a real kitchen, ready to start building something that could last, ready to turn my Nana's legacy into a business that would honor her memory while creating my own future. The wine glass catches the last reflection of the string lights as Marco raises it in a small toast to those early days. You feel yourself drifting toward sleep now, but still completely absorbed in his story, ready to follow him through the next phase of his journey from that tiny apartment kitchen to this magnificent vineyard restaurant. Finding that first commercial kitchen was like searching for a needle in a haystack, Marco continues, his voice growing softer as the night deepens around you. The vineyard has settled into peaceful quiet, with only the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant murmur of satisfied diners still enjoying their meals below. You sink even deeper into your comfortable chair, feeling the day's tension melting away as Marco's story continues to unfold. The success surrounding you now makes his early struggles feel like a distant dream, but you can sense the very real fear and uncertainty that marked those crucial early days. I spent weeks driving around the old Italian neighborhoods, looking for commercial space I could afford, he says. Most places wanted 3 times what I was making from my courtyard dinners. I was starting to wonder if I'd made a terrible mistake, if I should call Tony and beg for my job back. The vulnerability in his voice resonates deeply with you. This is the space where dreams either die or transform into reality. That uncomfortable middle ground where you've left the safety of the known, but haven't yet reached the security of success. Your breathing grows even slower as you absorb the lesson hidden in his uncertainty. Then one Thursday morning, I was driving through the old neighborhood where my nonna used to live. Marco continues. Just wandering, really, feeling sorry for myself, when I saw this "for lease" sign in the window of Benedetto's market. You can picture the moment perfectly. The narrow street lined with brick buildings, the faded awning over a storefront that had clearly seen better days. The way synchronicity sometimes appears in your life when you're open to seeing it, when you stop forcing and start allowing possibilities to emerge. Benedetto's market, Marco repeats with wonder still in his voice. Same last name as my nonna. I took it as a sign and called the number immediately. The vineyard air carries a slight chill now, perfect for deep relaxation. You pull your sweater closer and let Marco's words wash over you like a gentle lullaby, each detail painting vivid pictures in your increasingly peaceful mind. Marco continues. The owner was this old Italian guy, Sal Benedetto. Turned out he'd known my nonna back in Sicily, had emigrated around the same time she did. His family had run that market for 40 years, but his kids had no interest in keeping it going. The magic of that connection settles over you like a warm blanket. Sometimes the universe conspires to help us in ways that seem almost too perfect to be coincidence. You feel a deep sense of trust building in your chest, the recognition that when you're aligned with your true purpose, support appears from unexpected sources. Sal walked me through the space, and it was perfect, Marco says. The market had a small kitchen in the back where they used to prepare fresh pasta and sandwiches. Not fancy, but clean and functional, with all the basic equipment I needed. In your mind's eye, you can see that kitchen, simple stainless steel prep tables, a 6-burner gas range, a reach-in cooler, everything worn but well maintained. The kind of workspace where someone could create magic without breaking the bank. The rent was exactly what I could afford, Marco continues, which should have been impossible, but Sal said something I'll never forget. He said, I don't want to rent to just anyone. I want to rent to someone who understands what food means to a family, to a community. That wisdom flows through your consciousness like honey, sweet and nourishing. The recognition that business isn't just about transactions. It's about relationships, about shared values, about understanding the deeper purpose behind what you're creating. He gave me the keys that afternoon, Marco says with a smile in his voice. First month's rent and a handshake deal. Said he wanted to see what Maria Benedetto's grandson could do with a real kitchen. You feel yourself drifting even deeper into relaxation as the story continues. The evening has grown completely dark now, with only the soft glow of the restaurant's lights illuminating Marco's face as he speaks. Your breathing has become so slow and deep that each breath feels like it's drawing in not just air, but possibility itself. I spent the first week just cleaning and organizing, Marco continues. Sal helped me set up accounts with the local suppliers, the same people who had been delivering to his market for decades. Good people who knew quality ingredients, who cared about where their products came from. The importance of those relationships becomes clear as you listen. Building a business isn't just about having a good product. It's about creating a network of people who believe in your vision and want to help you succeed. Your subconscious mind absorbs this lesson, storing it away for your own future endeavors. The suppliers were incredible, Marco says. Giuseppe brought me the most beautiful tomatoes I'd ever seen, San Marzanos that had been grown in New Jersey soil by his cousin's family. Maria delivered fresh mozzarella every Tuesday and Friday, still warm from being made that morning. You can almost taste those ingredients as he describes them. The sweet acidity of perfect tomatoes, the creamy richness of fresh mozzarella, the way quality ingredients transform simple recipes into extraordinary experiences. Your mouth waters slightly as you imagine the dishes Marco must have created with such exceptional components. But the real game changer was meeting Francesco. Marco continues, his voice taking on a note of deep gratitude. Francesco Alberti owned a small farm about 30 miles outside the city. Organic vegetables, heritage breed pigs, chickens that actually lived outdoors and ate real food. The image of that farm materializes in your mind. Rolling green fields, vegetables growing in neat rows, animals living as nature intended. The complete opposite of the industrial food system that had dominated Marco's experience at Romano's. Francesco came by the kitchen one morning, introduced himself, said Sal had told him about me. Marco continues. He looked around the space, nodded approvingly, then said, "You want to cook real Italian food? I'll show you where to get real Italian ingredients." That moment of mentorship appears in your consciousness like a gift. The way experienced people sometimes step forward to guide those who are just beginning their journey. You feel a warm sense of gratitude for all the mentors who have appeared in your own life, and a quiet confidence that more will appear as you need them. Francesco took me out to his farm that weekend, Marco says. I'll never forget walking through those vegetable fields, tasting tomatoes that had been picked that morning, herbs that were so aromatic you could smell them from 20 feet away. The sensory richness of that memory flows through your relaxed mind like a gentle stream. You can feel the warm sun on your back, smell the rich earth and growing plants, taste the explosive flavor of vegetables grown with love and attention. Your body feels completely at peace, perfectly aligned with the natural rhythms Marco is describing. That's when I understood what my nonna had been trying to teach me all those years. Marco continues softly. That great cooking starts with great ingredients, but great ingredients come from people who care about their craft. It's all connected. The soil, the farmers, the cooks, the diners. One big ecosystem of nourishment. This understanding settles into your bones like ancient wisdom. The recognition that everything is interconnected, that building something meaningful requires understanding and honoring all the relationships that make it possible. Your breathing deepens even further as this truth integrates into your consciousness. Francesco became my first real business partner, Marco says. Not officially, but in spirit. He agreed to supply all my produce, my meat, my eggs. In exchange, I agreed to feature his farm's story on my menu to help people understand where their food was coming from. The beauty of that arrangement fills you with warm satisfaction. True partnership, where both people benefit and the relationship creates value beyond what either could achieve alone. Your subconscious mind files this away as a template for your own future collaborations. My first official catering gig came 2 weeks later, Marco continues. A 50th wedding anniversary party for a couple in the neighborhood. 50 people, 3 courses, everything made from scratch using Francesco's ingredients and my nonna's recipes. You can picture that celebration. Families gathered around tables, the joy of honoring a long marriage, the way food becomes the centerpiece for life's most important moments. The pressure Marco must have felt, but also the excitement of finally having a real opportunity to show what he could create. I planned that menu for days, Marco says. Antipasti with Francesco's vegetables and homemade focaccia, fresh pasta with sauce made from those incredible San Marzano tomatoes, and brassato al barolo using beef from Francesco's heritage cattle. Each dish appears in your mind like a work of art, colorful vegetables arranged with care, Pasta perfectly al dente and glistening with rich sauce, tender meat that falls apart at the touch of a fork. Your stomach rumbles softly, but it's a pleasant sensation that adds to your overall feeling of contentment. The night of the party, I was terrified, Marco admits. This was different from my courtyard dinners. These people were paying real money for a professional catering experience. I couldn't just wing it and hope for the best. That fear resonates through your chest, but it's a familiar fear. The kind that comes with stepping up to a new level of responsibility and possibility. The fear that proves you're pushing beyond your comfort zone into growth territory. But as soon as I started cooking, everything clicked, Marco continues. My hands knew what to do. The recipes flowed naturally, and the kitchen filled with aromas that reminded me of Sunday dinners at my Nana's house. I felt her presence with me, guiding my hands, blessing the food. The spiritual dimension of his work becomes clear as you listen. This wasn't just about making money. It was about channeling generations of wisdom and love through food, about connecting people to tradition and to each other. Your heart opens to receive this deeper understanding of what it means to build a business with soul. When I carried the first course out to the guests, the room went quiet. Marco says, not the bad kind of quiet, the good kind. The kind where people are so focused on their first bite that everything else disappears. You can feel that moment of anticipation, the collective holding of breath as 50 people taste something extraordinary for the first time. The power of excellence to command attention and respect, to stop time and create shared experience. Then the compliments started. Marco continues, his voice warm with the memory. People asking about the vegetables, the recipes, how I'd learned to cook like this. The host pulled me aside and said it was the best food they'd ever served in their home. That validation must have felt like sunlight after months of cloudy weather. The confirmation that his vision was not only viable, but genuinely valued by others. Your own confidence grows as you absorb the energy of that success. But the real moment came at the end of the evening, Marco says. The couple whose anniversary we were celebrating, married 50 years, called me over to their table. The wife had tears in her eyes, and she said, "Young man, this food reminded me of my mother's cooking. I haven't tasted anything like this since she passed away 20 years ago." The profound impact of that connection settles over you like a blessing. This is what happens when you pursue work that aligns with your deepest values. You don't just make money, you make meaning. You touch people's lives in ways that resonate far beyond the immediate transaction. That night, I drove home with a check for $1,200 in my pocket. Marco continues. More money than I'd ever made in a single day. But that wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was knowing that I'd found my calling. The certainty in his voice flows through your consciousness like a river finding its channel. That sense of alignment when your work feels less like work and more like destiny unfolding. You drift even deeper into relaxation, feeling that same alignment beginning to crystallize in your own awareness. The word spread quickly after that, Marco says. Within a month, I had 3 more catering bookings. Within 3 months, I was booked solid every weekend and starting to get weekday requests too. The momentum building in his story creates a corresponding energy in your own chest. The way success breeds success when you're operating from authenticity and excellence. Your subconscious mind absorbs the pattern, recognizing how consistent quality naturally leads to sustainable growth. That's when I knew I was ready for the next step. Marco continues softly. Ready to stop being just a caterer and start being a restaurateur, ready to create a permanent home where people could experience this kind of food whenever they wanted it. The vineyard has grown completely quiet now, except for Marco's voice and the gentle sound of your own deep breathing. You feel perfectly peaceful, perfectly receptive to the wisdom embedded in his journey, ready to follow him into the next phase of building his empire, ready to absorb the lessons that will serve your own path to abundance. Finding the right location for my first restaurant took 6 months, Marco continues, his voice taking on the gentle rhythm that's been lulling you deeper into relaxation. The vineyard air has grown perfectly still, creating an intimate cocoon around your table, where time seems to move at the pace of slow breathing and flowing wine. You settle even more deeply into your chair, feeling completely at peace as Marco's story continues to unfold. The success surrounding you now makes those early challenges feel both distant and immediate. Distant because you're experiencing the ultimate result. Immediate because you can feel every emotion and decision as if you were living them yourself. I looked at dozens of spaces, Marco says. Most were either too expensive, too small, or in neighborhoods that didn't feel right for what I wanted to create. I was starting to think I'd never find the perfect spot when my real estate agent called with one last option. The anticipation builds gently in your chest, that quiet excitement of knowing something important is about to unfold. Your breathing has become so slow and deep that each exhale releases a little more tension. Each inhale draws in a little more possibility. It was an old farmhouse about 15 minutes outside the city, Marco continues. Had been a restaurant years earlier, but the previous owner had let it run down. Peeling paint, overgrown gardens, a kitchen that hadn't been updated since the 1980s. In your peaceful state, you can picture that old farmhouse clearly. Weathered clapboard siding, windows that need washing, weeds growing up through the gravel parking lot. The kind of place that looks like a problem to most people, but opportunity to someone with vision. But the bones were perfect, Marco says with appreciation still evident in his voice. High ceilings, original hardwood floors, a fieldstone fireplace that would be gorgeous once it was cleaned up. And the dining room had these huge windows that looked out over what used to be a kitchen garden. The potential of that space blooms in your imagination, like flowers in Fast Forward. You can see past the surface problems to the warmth and character underneath, the way some places just feel right, despite their current condition. The rent was more than I'd been paying for the kitchen at Sal's place, Marco continues, but it was still reasonable because of the condition. The landlord was honest about what needed to be done. New equipment, fresh paint, landscaping, probably 6 months of work before I could open. That honesty creates a feeling of trust that flows through your relaxed consciousness. Sometimes the best business relationships start with complete transparency about challenges, creating a foundation for working together toward solutions. I walked through that space 3 times, Marco says. Each time, I could see it more clearly, not as it was, but as it could become. Tables by those big windows, the garden restored and growing herbs and vegetables for the kitchen, guests arriving to find something completely unexpected in the countryside. The vision he's describing settles into your mind like a seed taking root. This is how successful people think. They see potential where others see problems, possibility where others see obstacles. Your subconscious absorbs this pattern of thinking, filing it away for your own future use. Francesco offered to help with the renovations, Marco continues. Said he'd been looking for a reason to use his construction skills, and he believed in what I was trying to build. Giuseppe and Maria from the market said they'd wait for payment on supplies until I was open and generating revenue. The support network that emerged around Marco's vision creates a warm glow in your chest. This is what happens when you're pursuing something authentic. People want to help because they recognize the value you're creating, not just for yourself, but for the entire community. I spent 4 months transforming that space, Marco says, working 16-hour days, learning skills I'd never needed before: plumbing, electrical work, carpentry. Francesco taught me how to refinish the floors, how to restore that old fireplace. You can feel the satisfaction of that hands-on work, the way creating something with your own hands connects you to your vision in the deepest possible way. Your body relaxes even further as you imagine the meditative quality of sanding wood, the focus required for detailed restoration work. The kitchen renovation was the biggest challenge, Marco continues. I needed commercial-grade equipment, but I had to work within the footprint of the original space. Every square foot had to serve multiple purposes. The puzzle of that design process unfolds in your mind like a complex meditation. Every decision required balancing function with aesthetics, efficiency with heart. Your breathing deepens as you absorb the lesson about thoughtful planning, about making every element serve the larger vision. I designed the kitchen around the way I actually cooked, Marco explains. Everything flowing naturally from prep to cooking to plating. The pasta station where I could work fresh dough by hand, a wood-fired oven for bread and roasted vegetables, a grill area that opened to the dining room so guests could see the fire and smell the cooking. The sensory richness of that kitchen design washes over your relaxed mind. You can smell the wood smoke, hear the sizzle of vegetables hitting hot olive oil, see the warm glow of flames reflected on polished surfaces. It feels like a place where magic happens naturally, where food becomes art through passion and skill. Opening night was October 15th, Marco continues, his voice soft with memory. We'd been working toward that date for months, but I still wasn't sure we were ready. The new equipment was installed, the dining room was painted and furnished, the garden was planted but still mostly just tiny seedlings. The vulnerability of that moment touches your heart. Even with months of preparation, there's always that leap of faith when you open your creation to the world, when you discover whether your vision resonates with others. I'd sent invitations to everyone who had supported me: Sal, Francesco, Giuseppe, Maria, all the families who had hired me for catering. 50 people for a soft opening, just to test everything out before we opened to the public. You can picture that gathering. Familiar faces mixed with nervous anticipation. The warm glow of candles and fireplaces. The sense of community celebration around someone pursuing their dreams with integrity and courage. The first hour was chaos, Marco admits with a laugh. The new oven was running hot. One of the servers dropped a tray of appetizers, and I burned the first batch of bread because I was so nervous I forgot to set the timer. Even in your deeply relaxed state, you can feel the adrenaline of those opening moments. The way live performance, whether cooking, speaking, or any other craft, requires you to trust your preparation and adapt in real time to whatever emerges. But then something shifted, Marco continues. I took a deep breath, connected with everything my Nana had taught me, and just started cooking from the heart. The second batch of bread came out perfect. The pasta was silky and al dente, and the braised short ribs were falling apart with tenderness. That shift from anxiety to flow resonates through your consciousness like a bell ringing. The moment when you stop trying so hard and start trusting what you know, when effort transforms into ease and everything begins to work harmoniously. By the third course, The dining room had settled into this wonderful rhythm, Marco says. Conversations flowing, laughter mixing with the crackle of the fireplace, servers moving gracefully between tables. It felt like the dinner parties my nana used to host, but elevated into something professional and polished. The atmosphere he's describing envelops you like a warm embrace. This is what hospitality looks like when it comes from authentic caring. Not just service, but genuine welcome. Not just feeding, but nourishing. Your breathing grows even slower as you absorb this vision of excellence. The moment I knew we'd succeeded came when Francesco's elderly mother arrived for dessert. Marco continues. She'd driven down from her assisted living facility specifically to taste my food. When I brought her the tiramisu, she took one bite, closed her eyes, and started crying. The power of that moment settles into your bones. Food as time machine, as love letter, as bridge between generations. The way excellence in craft can touch something so deep in people that it moves them to tears of recognition and gratitude. She called me over to her table, Marco says, his voice thick with emotion even now. Took my hands in hers and said, "Young man, you have your grandmother's gift. She would be so proud of what you've created here." That blessing flows through your consciousness like golden light. The recognition that when you honor your heritage while pursuing your vision, you become a bridge between past and future, carrying forward the best of what came before while creating something entirely new. We closed that night with 13 reservations already booked for the following week. Marco continues. Word was spreading organically. People calling their friends, posting on social media, telling their neighbors about this special place they'd discovered in the countryside. The organic growth pattern he's describing plants seeds in your subconscious mind. This is how sustainable success builds, not through aggressive marketing or forced promotion, but through creating experiences so genuine and excellent that people naturally want to share them. The first month was a constant learning curve, Marco says, adjusting recipes for larger quantities, training servers to tell the story behind each dish, figuring out how to manage inventory when every ingredient was fresh and seasonal. You can feel the intensity of that learning period, but also the excitement. The way new challenges become opportunities to refine and improve when you're passionate about what you're building. Your relaxed mind absorbs these lessons about adaptation and continuous improvement. But the most important thing we figured out was our identity. Marco continues. We weren't trying to be like other restaurants. We were creating something unique, a place where people could experience authentic Italian cuisine in a setting that felt like visiting a beloved relative's home. That clarity of purpose resonates through your peaceful consciousness. The power of knowing exactly what you're creating and why, of having a clear vision that guides every decision and attracts exactly the right customers. By Christmas, we were booking out 2 weeks in advance, Marco says. The garden was dormant for winter, but we'd preserved and pickled enough vegetables to carry us through the cold months. The fireplace kept the dining room cozy, and we'd added heartier dishes that felt perfect for winter evenings. The seasonal rhythm he's describing feels natural and sustainable, working with natural cycles rather than against them, adapting to conditions while maintaining core excellence. Your breathing slows even further as you absorb this wisdom about patience and timing. That first winter taught me so much about building a business that honors natural rhythms, Marco continues. The way slower seasons give you time to plan and improve, to develop new dishes and deepen relationships with suppliers and staff. The counterintuitive nature of this lesson settles into your mind like wisdom from an ancient source. In a culture obsessed with constant growth and acceleration, There's profound value in understanding the necessity of rest and renewal. Spring brought our first real test, Marco says. Food critics had started hearing about us, and we got a call that someone from the city's major newspaper wanted to make a reservation. Anonymous review, they said, but we all knew what that meant. The stakes of that moment create a gentle tension in your chest, but it's excitement rather than anxiety. The recognition that big opportunities come disguised as normal moments, that excellence is always your best preparation for unexpected tests. The night the critic came, we didn't know which table they were at, Marco continues. So we just did what we always did, treated every guest like family, prepared every dish with complete attention and care. No special treatment, no shortcuts, just our normal standard of excellence. That commitment to consistency, regardless of who's watching, flows through your consciousness like a river finding its natural course. The integrity of maintaining your standards, whether the customer is a neighbor or a famous critic, understanding that reputation is built on reliability. The review came out 6 weeks later, Marco says with satisfaction still evident in his voice. 4 stars and a full description of every course, calling us a hidden gem that transports diners to the Italian countryside without leaving the state. The validation of that recognition warms your heart, but you sense something deeper in Marco's tone. Pride, yes, but also the satisfaction of knowing the praise was earned through authentic effort, not through tricks or shortcuts. That review changed everything, Marco continues. Reservations started coming from all over the region. Food lovers driving 2 hours just to experience what we'd created. Tour buses adding us to their wine country routes. The exponential growth he's describing demonstrates the power of excellence to create its own momentum. When you build something genuinely special, the market finds you. Your subconscious mind files away this pattern for your own future endeavors. But the most important thing was that the success didn't change our core mission, Marco says. We were still honoring my Nonna's recipes, still featuring Francesco's ingredients, still treating every guest like they were visiting our family home. That consistency of values amid changing circumstances settles into your bones like bedrock. The wisdom of staying true to your foundation while allowing everything else to evolve and expand around it. By the end of our first year, we'd served over 8,000 guests, Marco continues. Hosted dozens of weddings and celebrations, provided jobs for 12 people from the local community, and generated enough profit to start thinking about expansion. The ripple effects of his success create a warm glow in your chest. This is what happens when you build something authentic. The benefits extend far beyond your own life, creating value and opportunity for everyone in your ecosystem. That's when I started dreaming about the second location, Marco says softly. Not because I was dissatisfied with what we'd built, but because I could see how much need there was for this kind of dining experience. How many people were hungry, not just for good food, but for authentic connection and genuine hospitality. The vision expanding in his mind mirrors the expansion happening in your own consciousness. The way success in one area naturally leads to recognition of larger possibilities, broader ways to serve and create value in the world. But first, we had to perfect what we'd already created, Marco continues, to make sure our foundation was absolutely solid before we tried to build anything else on top of it. This wisdom about sustainable growth flows through your peaceful mind like a gentle current. The patience to master your current level before reaching for the next one. The understanding that depth creates the platform for height. The vineyard air has grown even cooler now, perfect for the deep rest your body is craving. Marco's voice has taken on an almost hypnotic quality, each word settling into your consciousness like seeds in fertile soil. You feel completely relaxed, completely receptive to the lessons embedded in his journey from struggling line cook to successful restaurateur. The opportunity for our second location came from an unexpected source, Marco continues, his voice now blending seamlessly with the peaceful rhythm of your deep breathing. The vineyard around you has settled into complete tranquility, with only the gentle sound of leaves rustling in the evening breeze and the distant murmur of contentment from the restaurant below. You sink even deeper into your chair, feeling as though you're floating in a warm pool of possibility. Every word Marco speaks seems to resonate not just in your mind, but in your body, your spirit, your very cells, programming new patterns of success and abundance into your being. About 18 months after we opened, I got a call from the mayor of Millfield, Marco says. It's a small town about 40 minutes north of here, trying to revitalize their historic downtown. They'd heard about what we'd accomplished and wondered if we'd consider opening a location in their old train station. The synchronicity of that opportunity creates a gentle flutter of excitement in your chest. This is how the universe supports authentic vision. By opening doors you didn't even know existed. By bringing opportunities that align perfectly with your expanding mission. At first, I was hesitant, Marco admits. We were doing so well with the farmhouse, and I was worried about spreading ourselves too thin. But when I visited Millfield and saw that old train station, I could immediately envision what it could become. In your deeply relaxed state, you can picture that historic building, high ceilings with original tin tiles, enormous windows, the romance of a bygone era when train travel connected communities across the countryside. The potential for transformation shimmers in your mind like heat waves over summer pavement. The building had been empty for 15 years, Marco continues, but the bones were magnificent. Soaring ceilings, original brick walls, a platform area that would be perfect for an open kitchen where diners could watch the cooking process. The vision he's describing takes shape in your consciousness with crystalline clarity. You can see guests seated at tables overlooking the old platform, the theater of professional cooking happening in full view, the way transparency creates trust and excitement around the dining experience. The town was offering incredible incentives, Marco says. Tax breaks for the first 5 years, help with permits and licensing, even a forgivable loan for renovation costs. They understood that bringing quality dining to their downtown would attract other businesses, create jobs, generate tourism revenue. This partnership model resonates deeply in your peaceful mind. The recognition that true success creates value for entire communities, that enlightened local governments understand the importance of supporting visionary entrepreneurs who can catalyze broader economic development. Francesco was immediately on board, Marco continues. Said he'd been looking for ways to expand his farm operation, and supplying 2 restaurants would justify investing in more acreage, more diverse crops. Everything was aligning perfectly. The way his success creates opportunities for others to succeed flows through your consciousness like a river feeding multiple streams. This is abundance thinking in action, the understanding that prosperity shared is prosperity multiplied. The renovation took 8 months, Marco says. Longer than the farmhouse because the train station required more structural work. But every challenge became an opportunity to create something even more special. You can feel the meditative quality of that extended renovation process. The way meaningful work, even when difficult, nourishes the soul because it's aligned with purpose. Your breathing grows even deeper as you absorb the lesson about patience and persistence in pursuit of excellence. We restored the original terrazzo floors, exposed the brick walls, installed a custom-built wood-fired oven that became the centerpiece of the open kitchen, Marco continues. Every design decision honored the building's history while creating the infrastructure for exceptional dining. The blend of preservation and innovation he's describing plants seeds in your subconscious mind. The wisdom of honoring what came before while adapting it for new purposes, creating bridges between past and future that serve both tradition and progress. Opening night at the train station was magical, Marco says, his voice warm with the memory. We invited 200 guests, local officials, food writers, customers from the farmhouse, everyone who had supported the project. The energy was electric. You can feel that celebration in your bones, the joy of community coming together to witness the birth of something beautiful, the satisfaction of seeing vision become reality through dedication and collaboration. But the real test came the next week when we opened to the public, Marco continues. 2 full-service restaurants, 45 minutes apart, requiring completely coordinated operations. I was basically living in my car, driving between locations, making sure everything maintained our standards. The intensity of that period washes over you, but it's the good kind of intensity. The energizing challenge that comes from pursuing something you believe in completely. Your relaxed mind absorbs the pattern of how growth requires temporary sacrifice in service of long-term vision. The first month was exhausting, Marco admits. I was working 18-hour days, training 2 complete sets of staff, debugging new systems, learning how to manage multiple locations without being physically present everywhere at once. The learning curve he's describing feels both daunting and exciting as it flows through your consciousness. The way stepping up to new levels of responsibility stretches you beyond your current capacity, forcing rapid growth and evolution. But gradually, the system started clicking into place, Marco says. I hired an incredible general manager for the train station, Sophia, who had restaurant experience and understood our mission completely. She became my eyes and ears when I couldn't be there. The importance of building a team that shares your vision settles into your awareness like a fundamental truth. Success at scale requires finding people who don't just work for you, but work with you toward shared goals that inspire their best efforts. Within 6 months, both locations were thriving, Marco continues. The farmhouse had become a destination for special occasions and romantic dinners. The train station was drawing families, business lunches, and tourists exploring the downtown area. The differentiation between the 2 locations creates a satisfying sense of completion in your mind. Different settings serving different needs, but both expressing the same core values of quality, authenticity, and genuine hospitality. That's when the media attention really exploded, Marco says. Food and Wine magazine did a feature story about our farm-to-table concept. The Travel Channel included us in a show about hidden culinary gems. Suddenly, we were getting recognition far beyond our region. The momentum building in his story mirrors the momentum you can feel building in your own life as you absorb these lessons. The way authentic excellence naturally attracts attention and creates opportunities for even greater impact and success. But the most meaningful recognition came from an unexpected source, Marco continues. The James Beard Foundation nominated me for Rising Chef of the Year. Suddenly, I was being mentioned alongside chefs I'd admired for years. That level of professional recognition flows through your consciousness like warm honey. The validation that comes from your peers acknowledging not just your success, but your contribution to elevating the entire industry. The nomination process was intense, Marco says. Site visits from judges, detailed interviews about our philosophy and practices, tastings where every dish had to represent our highest standard. The accountability of that process resonates in your peaceful mind. The way true excellence welcomes scrutiny because it has nothing to hide, the confidence that comes from knowing your work will stand up to the most rigorous evaluation. I didn't win, Marco continues with a smile in his voice. But the nomination itself opened doors I'd never imagined. Cookbook publishers started calling. Television producers wanted to discuss show concepts. Investors began approaching us about expansion opportunities. The abundance of possibilities flowing from that recognition creates a gentle excitement in your chest. This is what happens when you build something genuinely excellent. Opportunities begin to appear faster than you can evaluate them. That's when I had to make some crucial decisions about the future, Marco says. We could have expanded rapidly, franchised the concept, tried to build a national brand, but I kept coming back to my nonna's wisdom about quality over quantity. The clarity of that choice settles into your bones like wisdom from ancient sources. The understanding that sustainable success comes from deepening rather than just expanding, from perfecting rather than just proliferating. Instead of rapid expansion, we chose strategic growth, Marco continues. One new location every 2 years, each one carefully selected to serve a community that would appreciate what we offered. This measured approach to growth flows through your consciousness like a river finding its natural course. The patience to build sustainably, to maintain quality while increasing impact, to honor your mission even when faster growth beckons. The third location was here, Marco says, gesturing to the vineyard around you. A partnership with the Rossi family, who had been making wine here for 3 generations, but wanted to add dining to their operation. The synergy of that partnership materializes in your relaxed mind. 2 family traditions combining to create something greater than either could achieve alone, the way authentic businesses naturally support and enhance each other. This location required a completely different approach, Marco continues. Not just a restaurant, but an entire dining experience built around the rhythm of the vineyard, the seasons of winemaking, the romance of dining among the vines. The integrated vision he's describing wraps around your consciousness like a perfectly fitted garment. The way true masters adapt their core excellence to different contexts while maintaining the essential elements that define their work. We built the kitchen as an extension of the winery, Marco says. Wine pairing menus that change with each harvest, dishes designed to complement specific vintages, even cooking techniques that incorporate the winemaking process. The sophistication of that concept impresses your peaceful mind. The way depth of knowledge and experience allows for innovation that would be impossible without years of mastering fundamentals. Opening here 2 years ago completed something I'd been building toward since that first night in my apartment courtyard, Marco continues. 3 distinct expressions of the same core vision, each serving its community while contributing to something larger. The sense of completion and integration flows through your consciousness like the final note of a perfect symphony. The satisfaction that comes from seeing a long-term vision manifest in multiple dimensions, each supporting and enhancing the others. Now we employ over 100 people across the 3 locations, Marco says with quiet pride. We purchase from 27 local farms and producers. We've served over 50,000 guests who've experienced what authentic Italian hospitality can feel like. The ripple effects of his success create warm waves of satisfaction in your chest. This is what meaningful work looks like when it's allowed to flourish, creating value that extends far beyond the immediate business, enriching entire communities and countless individual lives. But the most important thing is that we've stayed true to my Nonna's teaching. Marco concludes softly. Every dish still tells a story. Every guest is still welcomed like family. Every meal is still an opportunity to nourish not just bodies, but hearts and souls. That consistency of purpose amid dramatic growth settles into your awareness like bedrock. The understanding that true success means expanding your impact without compromising your values, reaching more people while maintaining the intimate care that defines authentic excellence. The vineyard air seems to shimmer with possibility now, as if Marco's story has awakened the very atmosphere to new potential. Your breathing has become so slow and deep that you feel like you're floating on a sea of abundance, every cell in your body programmed for success and prosperity. The transformation from restaurateur to business empire happened gradually, then all at once. Marco continues, his voice taking on an almost musical quality that perfectly matches your deep state of relaxation. The vineyard around you seems to pulse with life and possibility, each breath you take drawing in not just air, but pure potential for your own success. You feel yourself sinking even deeper into the comfortable chair, your body completely relaxed while your mind remains perfectly receptive to every word. The wine glass sits forgotten on the table as Marco's story weaves its way into your consciousness, planting seeds of abundance that will bloom in your dreams and beyond. It started with a phone call on a Tuesday morning. Marco says, I was in the farmhouse kitchen, prepping for the lunch service, when Sophia called from the train station. Marco, she said, you need to see the reservation book. We're completely booked for the next 6 weeks. The energy of that moment flows through your peaceful mind like electricity through water. The excitement of demand outstripping supply, of having created something so valued that people plan their lives around experiencing it. All 3 locations were experiencing the same phenomenon. Marco continues. Word of mouth had reached a tipping point. Food bloggers were making pilgrimages. Travel websites were including us in their must-visit lists. We'd become what the industry calls a destination dining experience. The organic nature of that growth resonates deeply in your consciousness. This is how authentic success builds, not through aggressive marketing or forced promotion, but through creating experiences so genuine and excellent that they market themselves through the enthusiasm of satisfied customers. That's when I realized we needed to think differently about our business, Marco says. We weren't just 3 restaurants anymore. We were becoming a brand, a movement, a demonstration of what food service could be when it prioritized authenticity over efficiency. The shift in perspective he's describing opens new pathways in your mind. The recognition that sometimes your success outgrows your original vision, requiring you to expand your thinking to match the expanded reality you've created. The first major opportunity came from an unexpected source, Marco continues. A publisher in New York had been following our story and wanted to discuss a cookbook deal. Not just recipes, but the whole philosophy behind what we'd built. You can feel the excitement of that possibility blooming in your chest. The way success in one area naturally creates opportunities in related fields, the potential for your message and methods to reach far beyond your original scope of influence. The cookbook project took 18 months, Marco says. We photographed dishes in all 4 seasons, documented the stories behind family recipes, interviewed our suppliers about their farming and production methods. It became a love letter to the entire ecosystem that makes our restaurants possible. The depth and intentionality of that project flows through your mind like honey. The understanding that when you have something valuable to share, it's worth taking the time to share it completely, to honor all the relationships and knowledge that contributed to your success. When Nana's Legacy, Recipes and Stories from Farm to Table was published, something magical happened, Marco continues. It became not just a cookbook, but a manifesto for a different way of thinking about food, business, and community. The broader impact of his work settles into your awareness like sunlight breaking through clouds. This is what happens when you build something authentic. It becomes a teaching tool, inspiring others to pursue their own versions of meaningful success. The book led to television opportunities, Marco says. First a guest appearance on a morning show, then a recurring segment about seasonal cooking, then discussions about hosting our own program. The momentum building in his story mirrors the momentum you can feel building in your own life. The way one authentic success creates a platform for even greater impact and influence, opening doors you never knew existed. But the most significant development was the consulting requests, Marco continues. Other restaurateurs wanted to understand our model. Business schools invited me to speak about sustainable growth. Investment firms approached us about scaling the concept nationally. The recognition of his expertise flows through your consciousness like a warm current. The transformation from someone executing a vision to someone teaching others how to execute their own visions. The natural evolution from practitioner to thought leader. That's when I had to make another crucial decision, Marco says. We could have taken investor money, franchised rapidly, tried to become the next big restaurant chain. The offers were substantial, enough to make us wealthy beyond anything I'd imagined. The weight of that decision creates a gentle tension in your relaxed mind, the classic crossroads between rapid growth and sustainable development, between financial opportunity and mission integrity. But every time I considered those offers, I kept hearing my Nana's voice, Marco continues, reminding me that some things are more valuable than money, that building something meaningful takes time, patience, and unwavering commitment to your core values. The wisdom of that choice resonates through your being like a bell ringing in a cathedral. The understanding that true wealth comes not just from financial success, but from creating work that nourishes your soul and serves others with integrity. Instead of franchising, we created the Benedetto Institute, Marco says, a consulting and education organization that helps other food entrepreneurs build sustainable, community-focused businesses. The elegance of that solution flows through your mind like a perfectly balanced meal. Finding a way to scale your impact without compromising your values, to share your knowledge while maintaining the quality that created your reputation. The Institute offers everything from weekend workshops for aspiring restaurateurs to year-long mentorship programs for established operators who want to transition to more sustainable models. Marco continues, we teach sourcing strategies, staff development, financial management, but always within the framework of authentic hospitality. The comprehensive nature of that offering demonstrates the depth of knowledge Marco has accumulated. Your subconscious mind absorbs the pattern of how true expertise creates multiple revenue streams, how mastery in one area naturally qualifies you to teach and consult in related areas. The consulting work generated revenue that allowed us to be even more selective about restaurant expansion, Marco says. We could choose locations based on mission alignment rather than just financial projections. The freedom that comes from multiple income streams settles into your awareness like a comfortable blanket. The security of not depending on any single source of revenue, the flexibility to make decisions based on values rather than just financial necessity. That's when the fourth location became possible, Marco continues. Not because we needed it financially, but because we found the perfect opportunity to demonstrate our model in an urban environment. The patient opportunism he's describing plants seeds in your mind, the wisdom of waiting for the right opportunity rather than forcing growth, of maintaining your standards even when easier options present themselves. The Chicago location opened last year in a converted warehouse in a neighborhood that was experiencing revitalization, Marco says. We partnered with local urban farmers, sourced from cooperatives, created job training programs for residents who wanted to enter the hospitality industry. The social impact of that expansion creates warm satisfaction in your chest. The way authentic business can become a force for positive change, creating opportunities and building community while generating profit. Each location now generates between $8 and $12 million in annual revenue, Marco continues matter-of-factly. The consulting business adds another $15 million. The cookbook has sold over 500,000 copies, generating ongoing royalties. The financial success he's describing flows through your consciousness without creating anxiety or pressure. In your deeply relaxed state, these numbers feel natural, achievable, like destinations on a map rather than impossible dreams. But the real measure of success isn't the revenue, Marco says softly. It's the letters we receive from guests who say dining with us rekindled their love of food. The calls from farmers who've expanded their operations because of our orders. The employees who've used their experience with us to start their own successful ventures. The ripple effects of meaningful work expand through your awareness like concentric circles on still water. This is what authentic success looks like. Not just personal achievement, but contribution to the success and well-being of countless others. Last month, we received our most meaningful recognition yet, Marco continues. The United Nations invited me to speak at a conference about sustainable food systems. They're using our model as a case study for how businesses can support both economic development and environmental stewardship. The global recognition of his work flows through your mind like a gentle river. The way authentic innovation eventually attracts attention from the highest levels, the potential for your local success to contribute to worldwide positive change. Standing at that podium, addressing delegates from 190 countries, I thought about my nonna, Marco says, his voice thick with emotion. A woman who never traveled more than 50 miles from where she was born, but whose recipes and wisdom are now influencing food policy on 6 continents. The connection between personal heritage and global impact creates a profound sense of purpose in your chest. The understanding that honoring your roots while pursuing your vision can create influence that extends far beyond anything you originally imagined. Marco continues, the business is valued at $45 million now. We've had acquisition offers from major restaurant groups, private equity firms, even international hospitality companies. The financial advisors say we could sell and each partner would receive enough money to retire comfortably. The abundance of those options settles into your awareness without creating pressure or urgency. True success means having choices, being able to make decisions based on mission rather than desperation. But we're not selling, Marco says with quiet certainty. This isn't just a business we built to flip for profit. It's a legacy we're creating, a demonstration of what's possible when you combine authentic passion with disciplined execution. The commitment to long-term impact over short-term gain resonates through your being like a tuning fork struck in perfect pitch. The understanding that some things are worth more than their monetary value, that true wealth includes the satisfaction of work that aligns with your deepest values. Instead, we're planning the next phase of growth, Marco continues. A culinary school where we can train the next generation of chefs in sustainable practices. A food incubator where promising food entrepreneurs can develop their concepts with mentorship and support. The vision expanding in his mind creates corresponding expansion in your own consciousness. The way success naturally leads to greater opportunities for service, the potential for your achievements to become platforms for helping others achieve their own versions of success. We're also developing a line of products, sauces, pastas, preserved vegetables, all made using traditional methods and sold through high-end grocers, Marco says. Not to become a food manufacturing company, but to share our approach with people who can't visit our restaurants. The multiple expressions of his core mission flow through your mind like variations on a beautiful theme. The creativity required to find new ways to serve your purpose, to reach people through different channels while maintaining the integrity that defines your work. The vineyard air has grown perfectly still now, creating an almost sacred atmosphere around your table. Your breathing has become so deep and rhythmic that you feel like you're floating on an ocean of possibility. Marco's story has become more than entertainment. It's programming your subconscious mind for abundance, success, and meaningful achievement. The call that changed my perspective forever came on a Sunday morning in April. Marco continues, his voice now carrying the gentle rhythm that has lulled you into perfect relaxation. The vineyard around you seems to breathe with your own slow, deep breaths, each exhale releasing limitation, each inhale drawing in unlimited possibility. You feel completely at peace, floating in a state where Marco's story feels like your own memory, where his success becomes a template for your own future achievements. The evening air carries the faintest scent of jasmine from the restaurant's gardens, creating an atmosphere of pure tranquility. I was at the farmhouse, working in the garden before the lunch service, Marco says. My phone rang, and it was Francesco's daughter, Elena. Her voice was shaking as she told me that Francesco had suffered a massive heart attack during the night. The sudden shift in his story creates a gentle wave of emotion in your chest, but even this sadness feels distant and manageable in your deeply relaxed state. You understand that this is part of the larger story of growth and transformation. Francesco didn't survive, Marco continues softly. The man who had taught me everything about sourcing quality ingredients, who had believed in my vision when I was just a struggling caterer, was gone. 63 years old, with so much wisdom still to share. The loss settles into your consciousness like rain on fertile soil. You feel the sadness of that moment, but also a deeper understanding about the preciousness of time, the importance of building something meaningful while you can. The funeral was the largest gathering our county had ever seen, Marco says. Farmers, chefs, restaurant owners, families whose children Francesco had taught about sustainable agriculture. 500 people whose lives he had touched through his dedication to the land and to authentic food. The community celebration of Francesco's life flows through your mind like a river of light. This is what it means to live meaningfully, to touch so many lives that your passing brings together a small world of people who were made better by knowing you. As I stood at the podium to deliver his eulogy, Marco continues, I realized something profound about the nature of legacy. Francesco's true success wasn't measured in acres farmed or revenue generated. It was measured in the knowledge he shared, the relationships he built, the example he set for others. This understanding about the deeper dimensions of success penetrates your consciousness like sunlight through clear water. The recognition that true wealth includes the positive impact you have on others, the wisdom you pass forward, the inspiration you provide for future generations. That's when I knew our business needed to evolve again, Marco says. Not just restaurants and consulting, but a platform for preserving and sharing the kind of knowledge that Francesco represented. The traditional wisdom that's being lost as our food system becomes more industrialized. The vision expanding in his mind creates corresponding expansion in your own awareness. The way personal loss can become motivation for even greater service. The transformation of grief into purpose that honors those who came before. We established the Francesco Alberti Foundation 6 months later, Marco continues, dedicated to supporting small-scale farmers, preserving traditional food practices, and educating young people about sustainable agriculture. The beauty of that memorial flowing through your consciousness like honey. The way authentic tribute means continuing someone's work, expanding their impact, ensuring that their wisdom serves future generations. The Foundation's first major project was a scholarship program, Marco says. Full funding for young people who want to study sustainable farming, with mentorship opportunities at our partner farms and guaranteed employment for graduates who want to work in our network. The forward-thinking nature of that investment settles into your mind like seeds planted for future harvest. The understanding that true success means creating opportunities for others to succeed, building bridges between knowledge and application that serve the larger mission. But the most meaningful project came from an unexpected source, Marco continues. Elena, Francesco's daughter, approached me with an idea that took my breath away. She wanted to convert part of her father's farm into a living museum of traditional farming practices. The vision materializing in your relaxed consciousness feels both innovative and timeless. The perfect marriage of preservation and education, honoring the past while creating tools for the future. The Heritage Farm opened 18 months ago, Marco says with profound satisfaction. Visitors can experience every aspect of traditional farming, from planting heirloom seeds to harvesting vegetables using methods that have been tested over centuries. You can picture that experiential learning environment clearly. Families walking through carefully tended plots, children discovering where food actually comes from, adults reconnecting with the fundamental relationship between land and nourishment. We offer week-long immersion programs for culinary students, Marco continues. They work alongside experienced farmers, learn to identify quality by sight and touch, understand the connection between soil health and flavor. It's become a pilgrimage site for serious food professionals. The depth of that educational experience flows through your consciousness like a masterclass in wisdom. The understanding that true expertise requires understanding systems, not just techniques, seeing connections between all elements of the process. The Heritage Farm has also become a research center, Marco says. University partnerships studying climate adaptation, seed preservation, natural pest management. Francesco's practical knowledge is being documented and validated by scientific methods. The bridge between traditional wisdom and modern research creates a sense of completion in your mind. The way authentic innovation honors what came before while adapting it for current conditions, creating knowledge that serves both continuity and progress. Last year, we received a grant from the Department of Agriculture to develop curriculum for agricultural education programs nationwide. Marco continues. Francesco's methods are being taught in farming schools across the country. The multiplication of impact flowing from that one man's dedication resonates through your being like ripples expanding across still water. This is how meaningful work creates lasting change, by inspiring others to carry the mission forward in their own unique ways. But the most personal legacy project came from my own family, Marco says, his voice taking on a note of tender pride. My sister Maria had been watching everything we'd built, and she decided to leave her corporate job to join our operation. The family dimension of his success creates warm satisfaction in your chest, the way authentic work naturally attracts those closest to you, creating opportunities for shared purpose and collective achievement. Maria brought skills we desperately needed, Marco continues. 15 years in corporate finance, experience with complex operations, the ability to create systems that could support our continued growth without compromising our values. The perfect timing of that partnership flows through your consciousness like pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. The recognition that sometimes the help you need most comes from unexpected sources, often appearing just when you're ready to receive it. She started as our chief operating officer, but quickly became something much more important, Marco says. The keeper of our culture, the person who ensures that as we grow, we never lose sight of why we started this journey. The importance of that role settles into your awareness like a fundamental truth. The understanding that success requires both vision and execution, both innovation and preservation of core values that define authentic achievement. Maria instituted something called the Nana Sessions. Marco continues with obvious affection. Monthly gatherings where all our staff, from executive chefs to dishwashers, share stories about food traditions from their own families. The community-building aspect of that practice creates gentle warmth in your heart, the recognition that everyone has wisdom to contribute. That authentic leadership means creating space for all voices to be heard and valued. These sessions have become the heartbeat of our organization, Marco says. They keep us connected to the human stories behind what we do, remind us that food is never just about ingredients and techniques. It's about love, memory, and connection across generations. The depth of that understanding flows through your consciousness like ancient wisdom. The recognition that meaningful work always includes honoring the human element, creating space for relationships and stories that give purpose to technical excellence. The business model we've developed is now being studied by business schools as an example of stakeholder capitalism, Marco continues. Demonstrating how companies can generate profit while creating genuine value for employees, suppliers, customers, and communities. The systemic impact of his approach plants seeds in your subconscious mind. The understanding that authentic success creates value for everyone involved, that sustainable business models serve all stakeholders rather than extracting value for shareholders alone. We've been profitable every year for 8 years running, Marco says matter-of-factly. But more importantly, we've created jobs that people are proud to hold, supplier relationships that help other businesses thrive, and dining experiences that genuinely enrich people's lives. The holistic definition of success he's describing settles into your bones like bedrock. The recognition that true achievement means creating positive impact across multiple dimensions, measuring success by contribution rather than just accumulation. The valuation has grown to $45 million, Marco continues. But the real wealth is in what we've built together, a demonstration that business can be a force for good when it's grounded in authentic values and genuine care for others. The alignment between financial success and meaningful impact flows through your mind like a perfect harmony. The understanding that you don't have to choose between prosperity and purpose, that the most sustainable businesses serve both profit and principle. Next month, we're announcing our next major initiative, Marco says with quiet excitement. The Benedetto Institute is launching an online platform where food entrepreneurs from around the world can access our curriculum, connect with mentors, and build their own versions of community-focused food businesses. The global reach of that vision creates expanding circles of possibility in your consciousness. The way local success naturally evolves into platforms for worldwide impact, creating opportunities for your wisdom to serve people you'll never meet, but whose lives you can still touch. We're calling it the Global Village Kitchen, Marco continues, because we believe that the principles we've learned, honoring tradition, building community, prioritizing quality over quantity, are universal truths that can create positive change anywhere they're applied. The universality of those principles resonates through your being like a bell ringing across valleys. The understanding that authentic success creates templates that others can adapt to their own circumstances, their own cultures, their own unique expressions of meaningful work. The platform will be free for aspiring entrepreneurs in developing countries, Marco says, funded by premium memberships from established operators who want to refine their approaches. Another example of using success to create opportunities for others. The generosity embedded in that business model settles into your heart like a warm embrace. The recognition that true abundance means sharing knowledge and opportunity, creating systems that lift others while generating sustainable revenue. Standing here tonight, 20 years after that first pop-up dinner in my apartment courtyard, Marco says softly, I'm amazed by how following my nonna's simple wisdom led to something I could never have imagined. The journey from those humble beginnings to this vast impact flows through your consciousness like time-lapse photography of a seed becoming a forest. The power of consistent action aligned with authentic values to create exponential growth and influence. The restaurants serve over 200,000 guests annually, Marco continues. The consulting business has helped launch 400 successful food ventures. The cookbook has inspired countless home cooks to reconnect with traditional methods. The foundation has funded scholarships for 800 young farmers. The multiplication of impact flowing from one person's commitment to excellence creates a sense of awe in your peaceful mind. This is what happens when you build something truly authentic. It becomes a platform for countless others to build their own versions of meaningful success. But the number that matters most to me is this, Marco says, his voice thick with emotion. Last week, I received a letter from a young chef in Portland who read our cookbook, visited the heritage farm, and just opened his own restaurant using everything he learned from our model. He wrote to say that our example gave him permission to honor his Korean grandmother's recipes while building something completely his own. The generational transfer of wisdom and inspiration flowing through his words creates profound satisfaction in your chest. This is legacy in action, the way your authentic work becomes permission for others to pursue their own authentic expressions of success and service. That letter reminded me of something my nonna used to say, Marco continues. When you cook with love, you feed more than bodies. You feed souls, and those souls go out into the world and spread that nourishment to others. The wisdom of that simple truth settles into your consciousness like sacred text. The understanding that meaningful work always includes this multiplier effect, That authentic success creates ripples that extend far beyond your immediate sphere of influence. Tomorrow, we're breaking ground on our 5th location, Marco says. Not because we need more revenue, but because the town of Riverside has been asking us to help revitalize their downtown, and we've found the perfect way to serve their community while staying true to our mission. The continued growth guided by purpose, rather than just profit, flows through your mind like a river following its natural course. The understanding that sustainable expansion means responding to genuine need rather than forcing opportunities that don't align with your core values. Each new location will continue to be different from the others, Marco continues, adapted to its community, its landscape, its unique opportunities to create connection between people and food, but all unified by the same commitment to authenticity, quality, and genuine hospitality. The consistency within diversity he's describing creates a sense of perfect balance in your consciousness, the wisdom of maintaining core principles while allowing infinite variation in their expression, creating a brand that feels both familiar and surprising. The business has become something I could never have planned, Marco concludes softly, but something that feels completely natural when I look back at the path that led here. Every decision guided by my Nana's values, every opportunity evaluated against the simple question, does this serve love? The elegant simplicity of that decision-making framework settles into your awareness like a compass finding true north. The understanding that when you have clear values, complex choices become simple. That authentic success comes from consistent alignment with what matters most. The vineyard air seems to shimmer with possibility now, as if Marco's story has awakened the very atmosphere to new potential. Your breathing has become so slow and deep that you feel like you're floating on an ocean of abundance, every cell in your body programmed for success, prosperity, and meaningful achievement. You know, Marco says, leaning forward slightly and speaking directly to you now, his voice carrying the gentle authority of someone who has walked the complete journey from struggle to abundance. I can see something in your eyes that I recognize. The same hunger I felt in that burning kitchen at Romano's. The same certainty that you're capable of something much greater than your current circumstances might suggest. The recognition in his voice flows through your deeply relaxed consciousness like warm honey. In your peaceful state, you feel no resistance to receiving this assessment, no doubt about your own potential for extraordinary achievement. Your breathing remains slow and steady as his words plant themselves deep in your subconscious mind. The path I've described tonight isn't unique to the restaurant industry, Marco continues, his voice taking on the rhythm of gentle waves lapping at a peaceful shore. The principles that transformed my life, authenticity, persistence, value creation, community building. These are universal laws of sustainable success that work in any field, in any circumstance. The universality of those principles settles into your awareness like seeds finding fertile soil. You understand now that Marco's story isn't just about restaurants. It's about the fundamental process of transforming passion into prosperity, vision into reality, service into abundance. Right now, as you sit here in this vineyard that represents the culmination of 2 decades of purposeful work, Marco says softly, your subconscious mind is already beginning to identify the opportunities in your own life, the places where you've been settling for less than you're capable of creating. A gentle recognition stirs in your peaceful mind, a growing awareness of possibilities you've been overlooking, potentials you've been underestimating. Your relaxed state allows these insights to emerge without forcing, like flowers blooming in their natural time. Maybe you're working in a job that pays the bills but doesn't feed your soul. Marco continues, his voice perfectly attuned to your breathing rhythm. Maybe you have an idea that's been waiting in the back of your mind, too precious to risk, too important to ignore. Maybe you know exactly what you want to create, but haven't found the courage to take the first step. Each possibility he names creates a soft chime of recognition in your consciousness. You feel no pressure, no urgency, just a growing clarity about the gap between where you are and where your authentic success is waiting for you. The beautiful truth is that your journey doesn't have to be as difficult as mine was, Marco says with genuine warmth. You don't have to wait for a crisis to give you permission to pursue your dreams. You don't have to burn out in someone else's vision before claiming your own. This permission flows through your relaxed mind like a gentle current, washing away old beliefs about struggle being necessary for success, about having to suffer before you're allowed to thrive. You breathe in possibility and exhale limitation with each slow, peaceful breath. You can start exactly where you are, with exactly what you have, Marco continues. The same way I started with $800 and my Nana's recipes. Your version will be different. Maybe it's a service you want to provide, a product you want to create, a problem you want to solve in your community. The specifics matter less than the energy behind them, and you can feel that energy stirring in your chest now. A warm recognition that you already possess everything you need to begin building something meaningful, something that aligns with your deepest values and serves others. The first step is always the same, Marco says, his voice dropping to an almost whisper that somehow penetrates deeper into your consciousness. You must decide that your authentic vision is worth more than your current security, that the risk of pursuing your dreams is smaller than the risk of leaving them unfulfilled. This decision point crystallizes in your awareness like a perfect jewel. You understand now that the choice isn't between safety and danger. It's between authentic growth and slow spiritual death, between expansion and contraction, between contribution and mere survival. Once you make that decision, Marco continues, the universe begins to reorganize itself around your commitment. Opportunities appear that you never noticed before. People emerge who want to help you succeed. Resources become available exactly when you need them. The truth of this phenomenon flows through your peaceful mind like water finding its level. You've seen this pattern in Marco's story, how his authentic commitment attracted Francesco, Sal, Maria, and countless others who contributed to his success because they recognized the value of his vision. But you must be specific about what you're building, Marco says with gentle insistence. Not just, I want to be successful, or I want to make money, but a clear vision of the value you want to create, the people you want to serve, the specific way you want to contribute to the world. The importance of clarity settles into your subconscious like a navigational star. Your relaxed mind begins to naturally organize around this principle, understanding that vague wishes create vague results, while specific visions attract specific support. Imagine yourself 5 years from now, Marco says, his voice becoming hypnotically rhythmic, having built something remarkable from the seeds of intention you plant tonight. See yourself serving others in a way that utilizes your natural gifts, that honors your deepest values, that creates abundance for everyone involved. The visualization begins to unfold in your mind like a movie playing in slow motion. You can see yourself in your ideal future, confident, prosperous, surrounded by work that energizes rather than drains you. The image feels both inspiring and completely achievable. Feel the satisfaction of work that feeds your soul while feeding your bank account. Marco continues, his words weaving deeper into your consciousness. Experience the joy of being valued for your authentic contributions, of having your expertise sought and respected, of knowing that your work makes a genuine difference in people's lives. These feelings begin to take root in your body as well as your mind. A warm sense of purpose spreading through your chest, a quiet confidence settling into your bones, a deep peace that comes from alignment between your work and your values. Notice how naturally abundance flows when you're operating from authenticity. Marco says softly, how money becomes a natural byproduct of value creation, rather than something you have to chase or manipulate or sacrifice your integrity to obtain. This understanding about the relationship between authenticity and abundance flows through your consciousness like a river finding its natural course. Money as energy that flows toward genuine value, prosperity as the natural result of serving others excellently. See yourself building relationships like the ones in my story. Marco continues, partnerships based on mutual respect and shared vision. Team members who believe in what you're creating and contribute their best efforts because they feel valued and appreciated. The warmth of these relationships blooms in your imagination. You can feel what it's like to work with people who share your commitment to excellence, who support your vision because they recognize its value and want to be part of creating it. Experience the multiplication effect of authentic success, Marco says, his voice carrying the gentle power of waves reshaping a shoreline. How your achievement creates opportunities for others to succeed. How your prosperity becomes a platform for contributing to causes you care about, for supporting people and organizations that align with your values. The ripple effects of your future success expand through your consciousness like concentric circles on still water. You understand now that true achievement isn't just personal. It's a contribution to the collective abundance, a demonstration of what's possible when someone commits fully to their authentic path. Most importantly, Marco continues, feel the deep satisfaction that comes from honoring your own potential, from refusing to settle for less than you're capable of creating, from building something that makes you proud, not just financially, but spiritually and emotionally. This satisfaction settles into your very bones like sunshine warming earth. The recognition that authentic success nourishes every aspect of your being, creating wealth that extends far beyond money to include purpose, relationships, and the simple joy of work that aligns with who you really are. The seeds of this future are already planted in your consciousness, Marco says with quiet certainty. Tonight, as you sleep, your subconscious mind will continue processing these possibilities, identifying opportunities, building confidence, and preparing you for the actions that will transform these visions into reality. The programming happening in your mind feels as natural as breathing. No force, no struggle, just the gentle process of new patterns taking root in the fertile soil of your relaxed awareness. Each word Marco speaks becomes part of your internal guidance system. You'll wake tomorrow with fresh eyes, Marco continues, seeing possibilities where you once saw only obstacles, recognizing opportunities where you once saw only limitations. Your mind will be naturally drawn to information, people, and circumstances that support your emerging vision. This anticipation of enhanced perception flows through your consciousness like clear light illuminating previously dark corners. You can already feel your awareness expanding, your confidence growing, your natural wisdom coming online in new ways. And you'll have the courage to take action, Marco says with gentle authority, because you'll understand what I learned in that moment when I quit. Romanos, the real risk isn't in pursuing your dreams, it's in letting them die unfulfilled. The courage he's describing doesn't feel forced or artificial. It feels like a natural expression of your deepest truth. The understanding that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the recognition that some things are more important than fear. Your success will be different from mine, Marco continues softly, because it will be authentically yours, built on your unique gifts, serving your chosen community, expressing your individual vision of what meaningful contribution looks like. This permission to be unique settles into your awareness like a key finding its lock. You don't have to copy anyone else's path. You just have to walk your own with the same commitment to authenticity and excellence that Marco demonstrated. But the principles will be the same, Marco says with the confidence of someone who has tested these truths through 2 decades of application. Start where you are. Use what you have. Serve others excellently. Build authentic relationships. Maintain your integrity. Trust the process. These principles embed themselves in your consciousness like programming code installing in a computer. Simple, powerful, universally applicable guidelines that will serve you regardless of what specific form your success takes. The vineyard around us is quiet now, Marco observes, his voice becoming even softer, even more rhythmic. The last diners have finished their meals and departed with full bellies and happy hearts. The staff is completing their closing duties with the satisfaction of another day spent serving others well. The peaceful energy of the vineyard settles even deeper into your being. You feel completely relaxed, completely safe, completely open to receiving the abundance that's preparing to flow into your life through your commitment to authentic action. This is what sustainable success looks like, Marco says gently. Not the frantic energy of forced growth, but the natural rhythm of organic expansion. Work that feels like play because it aligns with your deepest purpose. Achievement that nourishes rather than depletes. The quality of energy he's describing becomes your energy now. Peaceful, sustainable, naturally abundant. The understanding that true success doesn't require sacrifice of health, relationships, or values. It requires alignment with them. As you prepare to drift into sleep, Marco continues, his voice now perfectly synchronized with your breathing rhythm. Allow these images of possibility to settle deep into your subconscious mind. Let them take root in the fertile soil of your dreaming consciousness, where they can grow and develop while your conscious mind rests. The transition into sleep feels completely natural now. Your body is perfectly relaxed, your mind is peaceful and receptive, and your spirit is aligned with abundance and possibility. You feel ready to dream of success, to process these lessons while you rest. Tomorrow is the first day of your new relationship with possibility, Marco whispers as the vineyard air grows even more still around you. You'll wake with clarity about your next steps, excitement about your emerging vision, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're finally ready to build something remarkable. These words settle into your consciousness like seeds planted in the perfect season. You trust that your subconscious mind will tend these seeds while you sleep, nurturing them until they're ready to sprout into inspired action, authentic success, and abundant fulfillment. Rest now, Marco concludes softly, knowing that your dreams are not only possible but inevitable when pursued with the authenticity, persistence, and heart that you already possess. Sleep deeply, dream abundantly, and wake ready to begin building the life you're truly meant to live. The vineyard fades gently around you as sleep beckons with the promise of dreams filled with possibility, success, and the deep satisfaction of work that honors both your heritage and your highest potential. Your breathing slows to the perfect rhythm of deep rest. Your mind remains open to abundance, and your spirit aligns completely with the prosperity that awaits your authentic action. In the gentle embrace of this summer evening, surrounded by the fruits of one man's commitment to excellence and service, you drift peacefully into sleep, carrying with you the seeds of your own remarkable transformation. Your subconscious mind continues to absorb every lesson, every principle, every possibility that will serve your journey from wherever you are now to the abundant future that's calling your name. The fire crackles softly in the distance, a gentle rhythm that matches your peaceful breathing as you surrender to rest, dreams, and the magnificent potential that tomorrow will reveal when you wake refreshed, inspired, and ready to begin building your own version of meaningful success. Sleep well, dream abundantly, and wake ready to create the life that's waiting for your commitment to authenticity, service, and excellence. Your journey to prosperity begins with the next breath, the next decision, the next courageous step toward the vision that only you can bring into reality.